program is Internet Web Plain Talk, and I'm Norman Liss. The purpose of this program is to clarify for all the people who hear everything about the Internet and the web and really don't understand it, and that includes me. And that's the reason that we do this program in plain talk, no technical talk, no complications, and try to clarify for those who really know what's out there and want to do something about it. On each program, I have guests on who are involved to some extent with the web, and we will keep the conversation totally non-technical. My guest today is Barry Abisch, who is the man who's responsible for the internet website at the Gannett Suburban newspapers and a lot of other titles that he has over there, and we'll get into it. Gannett Suburban Newspapers has established recently Westchester Today, which has a lot of information. And Barry, I welcome you here today, and we're looking for a lot of clarification, and since it's a newspaper's job to inform, we want to inform our viewers.
I'll do my best, Norman.
So let's get down to the basics here. Why did Gannett Suburban Newspapers decide to start this venture in cyberspace?
Well, it actually started about 2.5 years ago with a very small project on CompuServe, one of the major online services, and I think we did it then because it was there, and that's not being facetious. You look around, and we looked around, and people were starting to get information in other ways. Traditionally, people got information from books and newspapers and broadcast media. And then a few years ago, you see people were starting to go online and get information online, mostly at that point from the online services, such as Prodigy and America Online and CompuServe. And we went on very low-key as another way of reaching readers, presenting information to the readers, but also especially for the interactivity. What you can do online that you can't do in print is conduct bulletin boards and
interactivity. Now, there's a term.
Okay.
What is interactivity?
Well, I use the term, now I have to define it. I guess there's interactivity between a newspaper and readers just by presenting a written material and people are reading it, but we were looking more to face-to-face, where people could react immediately to something they read, where we could respond. And we did that a couple of ways with CompuServe. We have electronic bulletin boards. A reader could read something in the newspaper, post a comment, and an editor or a reporter could respond, or other readers could respond.
Was there much of that communication when you were doing it through CompuServe?
Not as much, honestly, as we would have liked, but we had a few very good, interesting, heated discussions. We also had some times when we put a reporter or a columnist on for a live, real-time chat, where basically having a news conference over the CompuServe.
Again, did people respond to that?
Some did.
The reason I'm asking those questions is, it's great out there. I was particularly intrigued by something you said because it's there. A lot of people are seeing the term Internet and World Wide Web, which is within the Internet, a way of reaching from one piece of information to another piece of information. And a lot of people say, gee, I want to be part of it because it's there. But the question is, what's there? Is it useful? Is it a toy? I personally don't believe that having access, online access, is an entertainment medium as opposed to sitting in front of a television set for 2, 3, 4 hours doing the same thing in front of a screen. Because it's there, is it also the question of wanting to make sure that the future doesn't get away from you?
There was some of that. When I say it's there, the other piece of that was some of our readers or potential readers also were there. And as I said, people were starting to get information online. When the World Wide Web, which really just took off in the last year and a half or so, suddenly blossomed, more people were going online to get information. But the other point you mentioned, I think a lot of the websites you see really lack content. They look pretty, and people say, hey, we can go on the web because it's very easy, and institutions or agencies would go up on the web, and they had a site on the web, but there was not much, there was no there.
Define a website.
Define a website. Sometimes you hear the term homepage. It's just you create a website and you're actually creating a file on a series of linked files, connected files, that somebody with any kind of internet access, World Wide Web access, can get to your page. And on that page they can link to other pages and
New York Times recently ran an article where it said that people establish websites like information for their wedding and how to get there, and then they just leave it there and it's there forever. So a website is something, and we won't get into at this moment how one establishes a website, where information is made available that anybody can access it.
That's right.
And anybody can do that.
Right. It's really simple. And most of the online services, Prodigy and CompuServe and I Believe America Online now have the procedures in place where if somebody wants to establish their own private web page, they can do that. And the page is sitting out there on a computer, and you may go away, but your page is still sitting there. And that's what the Times is pointing out. There's a lot of orphan pages sitting out there that haven't been updated or changed in months or years.
But the new project, the new website that Gannett Suburban Newspapers has established is called Westchester Today.
Right.
Ties in, of course, to the Gannett USA Today and that general feeling to have a family relationship there. What is Westchester Today? What does it consist of?
Well, Westchester Today, the point I made a moment ago about a lot of sites I feel don't have much substance. They look pretty and they're nice and they're there, but there's not much behind it. When we set out to do Westchester Today, we want it to have useful content and to be a site that people will come to, not just because it's pretty, not because it's easy to get to, but because once they get there, there's information they can use. Mm-hmm. We're a newspaper. We're in the information business. We're trying to be an information resource for Westchester County. So Westchester Today, we're building basically home pages for every one of the 45 municipalities in Westchester County.
Home pages, websites. You're saying that all of these communities can have a location?
Well, they could do their own. We're doing it. We're basically saying we're creating a page, and this is the Mount Kisco page, or this is the White Plains page, and we're giving all the community information we can assemble.
So you're doing the reporting on it, actually.
That's right.
Okay, and you're establishing that for these communities, actually.
In essence, right.
It's like putting out a hometown newspaper, really, online.
Right.
With background information about each of these.
We've already got a lot of information there. We've got information about churches and synagogues, about municipal government, about schools, police departments, a lot of that kind of information that people might want to need from time to time. The other major component of Westchester Today is a news component, and we're still building that piece. Right now, every day we'll put 10 or 12 of the top stories of the day, make those stories available. Before the end of January, we hope to be at the point where almost the entire local news content of all 10 of our Westchester editions is available in Westchester Today. And the hold up there.
Aren't you putting yourself out of business? If everybody has access to some online service, and the world is going in that direction, like every home has at least one television set, then why do people have to read a newspaper if they can turn on their computer and get exactly that same information?
I don't think anybody is going to want to read an entire newspaper online. The amount of time it takes to download or get news stories from the computer into your screen and maybe print them out, it takes a lot of time.
But nobody reads a whole newspaper cover to cover anyway.
Right.
We're selective, and you can be selective and see the things you want.
I imagine some people who have a very low level of interest in local news and community affairs might find all they need in Westchester Today. I think people who are more involved in their communities will still be more satisfied with the print edition. But what we can offer with Westchester Today, for example, we print 10 editions. There's people in this county who might have been born in Ossining, where I live, and work in White Plains and live in New Rochelle. So at home they get the New Rochelle Standard Star, but there might be something going on in White Plains or in Ossining that they want to read about online. They can do that.
You're absolutely right. I do not consider myself to be a resident of the city in which I live. I consider myself to be a resident of Westchester.
Right.
Because, as you say, I'm in many, many different communities. I work, I play, I travel. I see a lot of different things happening. I just don't want to read a small hometown newspaper.
So we can make that available. We publish 10 different editions a day with 10 different page 3s with a local news report. They will all be available online. The other thing we can do is make supplemental information available. And we've already started that on a small scale. The White Plains Reporter-Dispatch today had an article on Mayor Schulman's State of the City address. there's no room in the paper to print the full text of his speech, but we had the full text available in Westchester today. So we can provide that kind of supplemental reporting and supplemental information and make it available.
It definitely is the future. Do you think that print media will change or disappear?
I think it's inevitable. I don't know when. I mean, you hear people say it will happen in 10 years, and you hear other people saying 30 or 40 years, and I'm not going to hazard a guess. It will take a lot of changes on the technology of how fast you can get information to the home, to the individual subscriber at home, how fast it can get there, what kind of clarity, how you can print it out. There was a study I just read, and I don't know the source of it, unfortunately, that reading on a computer screen is 25% slower and with 25% less comprehension than the same information presented on a printed page. And I'm reluctant to quote that because I can't cite the source right now, but it sticks in my mind.
It's interesting that I very rarely read anything on the screen. What I do is I just capture everything on the screen, and then I print out those things that I want to read. And so I'm not online doing that. I'm doing it through my word processor.
So I think there'll have to be a lot of changes in the technology, in distribution speeds of information, and in home computers before it can replace the printed.
You're so technologically oriented, but your background is not that. You're a journalist.
You know, I'm really not that technologically oriented. I'm a journalist. I'm an editor. Until 5 years ago, I had never touched a computer. And then we were installing a new newsroom text editing system at the office, and they needed an editor to supervise and help set that up. And they pointed at me, and I've kind of learned what I've had to learn going along.
You've been editor at various publications within the Gannett group, and you were on the editorial board, weren't you?
I was in Ossining. I was city editor in Ossining. I was editor in New Rochelle. I was city editor in Port Chester. Been on the editorial board. Filled quite a few roles in the 17 years I've been with Gannett.
So they pointed to you and said, "You're it, Barry."
Well, they asked me, and it was something different. It was kind of like having a career change and a hobby at work. And what we're doing online is really what I've been doing for 5 years, which is helping the newsroom use technology to get information to people, whether it's with our text editing system, where I'm helping reporters and editors use that system to write stories and report stories, or here we're looking for new ways to get the information to our readers.
Now, how does this all fit into your perspective? You are someone who 5 years ago knew nothing about this. Many of the viewers, certainly the viewers to whom this program is directed, don't quite know how to get into it. They don't know how to learn. What about the learning curve for you? Was it very steep?
Less steep than I thought it was. I don't know whether I've got a natural. I mean, I've always liked science and technology, even though I've never been a career or never studied it.
How did you learn? Did you take courses?
I took some courses, learned by doing. You know, there's people who support computers will always have a joke that the first thing they have to tell people is read the manual. And everything you buy has books, and you can buy books, and you can learn it yourself. It's not that difficult.
Learn by doing.
Learn by doing. It's not the ideal way. I've learned what I have to know, and then when I have to know something else, I learn something else, which is probably not as good as book learning or classroom learning. Because
of all the technical talk that we hear all around us with words that don't make sense to most people, and certainly don't make sense to me, people are put off. And I like to make the reference to photography. Today we have point-and-shoot cameras. You don't have to know anything. All you have to do is take the camera, turn it on, point it, and push the button. Right. And I think that certainly online communication, internet, web, or email, is as simple as that. You turn it on, you go online, you use a mouse, and you point to what you want, and you push the button, and you shoot. It's all point and shoot.
Anybody who's been using a Windows computer or a Macintosh to do anything else, word processing or spreadsheets or playing games, should not have any problem getting a package and going onto the web.
And people who have never done it before can just follow. You don't have to know how to repair your automobile in order to drive it.
Exactly. It's very intuitive. I mean, if you can read what's on the screen, okay, what do I want to do? I want to launch this application. I want to start the internet application. You click on an there are there will be little problems along the way, but it is not difficult.
I find it's like driving a car. I don't have to think in order to do the things, and they're just automatic. And you ever drive in the car and wonder how you got from here to there? You don't even remember driving that period, but you know you got there, and that's the way it is here.
I don't know why. I think there's a psychological barrier for some people because it's new and it's different, and the term computer can seem a little bit, scary, but it isn't. It's a machine. It's a machine, and you can use it and have fun with it and learn something.
I just want to remind our audience that we're talking today about Westchester Today, which is the web site that Gannett Suburban Newspapers has established, which has information about news, expanding on the news, and all sorts of features. And my guest is Barry Abisch, who is the man who is responsible. Incidentally, you write a weekly column called Online, and you invite people to respond to you, really. And as a matter of fact, you have an address. I know it's a complicated one. We're going to put it on the screen afterwards. Do you remember it?
Sure. It's my CompuServe address. It's 71333.3066 at CompuServe.com.
That's interesting when I look at that, because CompuServe uses numbers like America Online, which is the way that I get on, is very simple. My address, and I put that on the screen on the program, is endless at the @AOL.com. I suppose CompuServe started in a technical era and stayed that way.
I prefer not to use my CompuServe address, but that was the first. I've got other addresses. I've got Prodigy, and I've got AOL, and I have an internet address, but this was the first one I had. And it's easier to use one and have all my email in one place than to have to check for email in 4 or 5 different places. This is an example, though, of the internet, what the internet is. I have a CompuServe email address, but anybody with access to the internet can send me email, and I can respond by email.
Talking about responding by email, I read something in a magazine. There was a cartoon page, and it gave the email address. And I sent some email. It's very simple to do. I sent some email to that email address and asked the author why he had on there. Was he looking for ideas? Was he looking to sell something? And what was it all about? And he responded immediately, within an hour or two, and told me that he got a lot of his ideas from people and he wanted them to do it. Now, I tried that again this morning. You have a new comic strip called Dilbert, very successful comic strip, and he also publishes his email address. And so, actually, this morning, I sent him some email and asked him the same question. I received a 24-page response in which he talked about a newsletter, and sent a copy of it, which is free to anybody who wants to send him email at the email address, which is published in the paper, plus a store on the web where they sell all sorts of Dilbert-related merchandise, plus lots of other information. Now, he says he gets about 1,000 letters a week on email.
It doesn't surprise me. Dilbert's a very, very popular strip, particularly with people involved with computers and technical subjects.
But it's interesting that there is some use of it. So what do you see about the web? Where's it going? Where are we going? Where's life taking us?
I didn't know it was going to have to be philosophical. I don't know. The web, 2 years ago, nobody knew about the web. The web was used by scientists, whatever it is, scientists exchange, and it became popular probably within the last 2 years, and it grows by hundreds of thousands of users and thousands of websites every day. So it would seem the web is going to evolve as the principal online information resource. But then you say, hey, 3 years ago it wasn't here. Will something else come along? I don't know. We're obviously right now committing our resources mostly to the web, although our CompuServe site is still there. That's what's here now. It's the best that's here now. My guess is that the web will evolve. The tools people use to access it will evolve. But my guess is that the web is going to become the core of the online technology for the foreseeable future.
Well, Gannett, the Suburban newspaper seem to be committed. They have your weekly column. You have another column that runs on Fridays, new on the net, that appeared. You do a technical column, a syndicated column. You run full-page advertisements talking about being on the web.
Right.
You put a line in there to call someone if you want to advertise on your website. I mean, this is all going in that direction.
Right.
Here are some more. All these stories are appearing in your newspaper.
Right.
More than a dozen municipalities prepared to dive into cyberspace. It's here. Is it too much? Is it overwhelming? Is it?
I like information. I like knowing things, so I don't find it overwhelming. I like knowing that I can, go online and find out information. My first column, which was about just a little over a year ago, right before Christmas '94, I decided to start doing a column, and my column is a lot like this show. It's aimed for non-technical audience, and the focus isn't the broad technology issues, but the focus is online subjects. And I'm just trying to give a sense of what's out there, why people might want to be able to go online from their homes or their offices. And I decided to do the column, and I didn't know what to do. And it was late one night. My wife came home, and she was making supper, and she said, "How do you make a poinsettia bloom from one year to the next?" And it was like 9:30 at night, and the libraries aren't open. And somebody she worked with wanted to know. I went out to CompuServe, and I poked around. I found the gardening forum, and I found exactly the answer. So you say, is it too much? It depends what you use it for and how you use it.
Because you've got the world at your fingertips.
Exactly.
Really is where it is. But people are so intrigued by the novelty of the existence of cyberspace, or whatever you want to call it, that they spend a lot of time just going around, and I'm not referring to playing games, and I'm not referring to email. I use email a lot. It's fast. It's easy. You get quick responses. You don't have to bother with stamps, and you don't have to bother with envelopes. You don't have to bother with paper, and it works. But it's happening so fast that it's overwhelming people.
It overwhelms people. I mean, we just saw a report, college students becoming addicted to it and spending so much time online, it really becomes an addiction. So it can be misused.
And
be
boomers and seniors and everybody else, no question.
And I think this reflects partly to a comment I made earlier that I find a lot of websites kind of empty. They're there, but there's no useful information there. They're fun to look at, it might be fun to play with, but no reason to keep coming back. And I think as the medium matures, this is going to change. People are going to start learning. The people developing websites are going to learn how to take advantage of it, and take advantage of it to present information.
How does one find Westchester Today, your website? You turn on your computer, and what do you do?
You have a World Wide Web browser, which is the software you need to access the web, and we have what's called a web address is called a URL, a Universal Resource Locator. You'll just see it abbreviated as URL all the time, or the address. And
you can type that right on.
Right.
But you can also get it in other ways. For instance, the Westchester Library System, you can go in there and it will take you right to it, right?
This is one of the great things about the web. It's called hyperlinking. And you can link from one page or one site to another, and it might be on a computer. I mean, from Westchester Library System can link to us and our actual computers in Norfolk, Virginia. And you don't know where these computers are, and you can just jump from computer to computer. One of the things we will be building in are links to other sites that relate to information we have in our site.
It really takes the world and puts it there at your fingertips.
Right.
And it's like being able to go to the world's greatest research library and find without moving.
Without moving. It's as if you got to the back of the book and found the bibliography instead of having to go pull 12 more books off the shelves, and each one of those has a bibliography referring to other books. You can just put your cursor on the link, click, and it takes you right to that book.
Do you find it easy now? You say there are complications. Do you find it easy now? Do you have to think twice as you jump from one to the other? There are certain steps, I suppose, that are automatic for you.
I find it pretty intuitive now, yes.
Do you play? What's the word that surf?
Surf. No, I don't. I should say I don't surf for myself. I surf professionally. When we were looking to develop our page, or now I'll surf to other newspaper and magazine providers just to see what other people are doing and how they're using the web. I don't surf. I don't spend time as a recreational hobby surfing.
How do these various organizations that in Westchester that want to have a web page, how do they find out what other people are doing? Let's say you're a performing arts center or an orchestra.
Well, first of all, we'd be interested in making some information about any nonprofit organization available in our website. That's one of the things we will do. And I don't want to sound like an advertisement because we're giving this away free, so it's not an advertisement. But we will help people build websites. And there would be a modest charge for that. Our advertising and marketing department do that. We can build websites for people.
What's the range of what it costs to build a website?
I don't know. I have to
Is
be
it
really honest.
$10,000 or is it $10?
It'd be closer to 10 than 10,000. I mean, any computer that's connected to the internet you could have a website on your home computer. But then you needed communications for people to get into it, and most people only have one phone line.
A little too complicated, a little too technical for me at the moment. But the future is obviously that every organization, nonprofit, profit, is going to have some website because that is the way to reach out to the world.
I really think so.
And who knows where it's going to go? Is our computer going to be our television set, our telephone, all our means of communication?
Well, I mean, that's one of the things that's being looked at. Is a computer box on your TV, so you'll use your TV not only to access NBC, but also to access Westchester Today. Using cable also gets over some of the speed issues because cable can transmit images much faster. That's in the future, but it's probably not very far in the future.
It sounds terribly exciting to be in the middle of this development. It must be a great situation for you. And one of the things that we've discovered is that there isn't enough time, and we've run out of time. And I thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, enjoyed doing it.
My guest today is Barry Abisch, and he's responsible for Westchester Today, the website of the Gannett Suburban newspapers. The name of this program is Internet Web